So, in this unit 4, we're going to begin by talking about this new idea called explicit versus implicit functions. Now, one of these guys we've been working with very closely for pretty much your entire algebraic career from maybe 7th grade and on. And then one of these guys that's a little bit newer. But why don't we take a look at our examples here. Oops. Look at all the explicit functions and all the implicit functions. Why don't you take a moment to look at the differences and literally write down what you think are the differences. Okay, try to not look at the definition for now, but just look and observe what you think are the differences between the two parts. So pause the video and give yourself about 30 seconds. Okay, now that we're back, you probably saw that on the left, explicit functions have all the y variables or the one of the variables on one side and all of the x variables on the other side, or t variables. Okay, as opposed to explicit, you see that both the x and the y are all on the same side, all intermingled. Okay, so that's basically the difference between explicit and implicit functions. Okay, so let's take a look at the definitions. A function in which the dependent variable and independent variable, so like for example, when you have like y equals mx plus b, that's just an equation. We usually say that y is the dependent variable and x is the independent variable. Okay, so a function which the dependent variable and independent variable blank separated on opposite sides of the equality or the equal sign. Okay, so what do we notice about explicit functions? We see that the y and the x are on opposite sides. So the definition for explicit function is a function in which the dependent variable and independent variable are separated, okay, on opposite sides. While implicit are functions in which the dependent variable and independent variable are not separated, meaning they're on the same side. Okay? All right, so why don't you write one example of an explicit and one example of an implicit function below. Okay, so just to conclude here, we have been working with for the most part, our entire math career so far has been working with explicit functions, right? So in calculus, for the first time, we are dealing with implicit functions, and we'll talk about what that looks like next.